Hey guys, Ninja here, and welcome back to some more Enigmatica 8. In this episode, we move our inventory. You'll see that there isn't anything left other than patterns and a few odd and ends of pieces from refined storage and some advanced cabling. Build a stairwell, craft entirely too many patterns, and have a blast setting up a control center for our applied Energistics system. To get started for today, we're going to take a quick tour around and see what we've been working on in between episodes. We've mostly been working on the interior of our base and laying out some additional floor plans. We still haven't figured out what we're going to do here. I have decided this is going to be the entry into the base, but we have not done any decorating or added any walls or really anything other than lay some torches out. We also haven't added any additional machines. We've just kind of cleaned up a few things, and you'll also see where we've added a whole nother drive bay full of disk drives. You'll also notice on the ceiling we have added an access port, viewing area, whatever you want to call this, but essentially it's a way for me to go up and down the base really easy with my jetpack. We are still going to have a stairwell that goes all the way up. Visually, I like things to be cohesive, so we are going to have a stairwell. We just haven't finished it yet, which we'll probably get to that in today's episode. I would also like to finish out our workshop area. I say finish out, really get started and finish it because we haven't done anything. It's just an open area. But this level right here is going to be our primary workshop and where we do most of our crafting. I've also designed a door frame to use in places like this, and I think this turned out pretty good. We may modify it some more as we progress, but it looks pretty good. In the area we were working on yesterday, I've added another row of polished blackstone in the floor. I think that makes for a really nice touch. I've also covered all of the cabling up, so it's a nice clean look. We still need to set up our patterns and configurations for these machines, but we'll get to that in today's episode. Over here I've extended the walkway and added another false wall so we can hide machines and their cabling. That design continues to the floor below where we've added another little wall section where we can hide cables and machines, make it look really nice. And we have the same little extension on this side as well. We've also used another one of those door frame designs and another unfinished area, I should say, on this side. If we pop down, there's really not much that's been done on the next two floors. I did add this beam. I got rid of the stairs. I didn't like the diorite stairs, so we added this beam, and I think this looks nicer. And this floor mirrors the floor above with even less done. So if we move on down, I think that's pretty much all we've done in between episodes. Just a lot of cleanup and interior designing. But we're going to head over to the starter base because we need to craft 10 more hard drives before we can start looking at moving our inventory over. Now that we're back over at our starter base, I have already grabbed 10 more 64K drives, so that will give us 3 full drive bays and plenty of storage to start pulling everything over. I'm probably going to regret this, but it will at least force me to start using our mega base more and install some more machines so it's all usable. I initially was thinking that I could just flip my importer on the back of our ender chest to an exporter, and it would just export instead of importing stuff out of our system into this ender chest. But it doesn't seem to be working. It has a button here to toggle exact mode on and off. I turned that off and it's still not exporting. So I guess the way we're gonna have to do this is just pick a couple of items. We can just do the top ones here and tell the exporter to export these items, and we'll just have to do this one at a time. And it should start putting those in the chest, yes. So now we can take one of our importers over at our mega base for our applied Energistics system, combine it with a capacity card and some acceleration cards, and we can start pulling this stuff over, and we'll just sit here and watch it, and as it finishes stuff up, we'll add different blocks to this exporter. That's the only way that I can think to do it, and do it fairly quickly. Well, let's head over to our mega base. Now that we've made it over to our mega base, we're just going to plop down an ender chest right in front of this lime cable. We're going to stick an import bus on that ender chest. We're going to add the capacity and 3 acceleration cards. We should start seeing stuff coming out of the chest and into our storage system. Yep, there it goes. It's pulling in quite quickly. Now that that's running, we're going to run over here and add our additional drives, and we will keep an eye on this, but we should have plenty of storage capacity now. I also think it's really cool that you can see what items are on the drives by looking at them. And now that we're actually using our system, we can take all our spare components that we have in here, except the tools. Oh, I said except the tools. And we could start putting those in our system here. We'll put all of this stuff right here. Making sure I don't grab anything by mistake. Wouldn't be the first time, and definitely won't be the last. We're going to go ahead and grab our tools out. The tools that we're not using. Oh, there's our other exchanger. I've lost an exchanger in the previous episode, and I just found it. I knew we would find it eventually. We'll put our dyes and this other stuff in there. Man, I am so glad we are finally moving into our mega base. I'm going to babysit this. This is going to take a while to get everything shifted over. And then once we're done with that, we're going to start working on our workshop area. for the most part, we've got our inventory moved over to our mega base. And if we take a quick peek, you'll see that there isn't anything left other than patterns and a few odd and ends of pieces from refined storage and some advanced cabling from Mekanism. And the way we move this over is anything that was a stack or less, I just pulled out and stuck into the chest, where we have an importer at our mega base pulling everything into our applied Energistics system. And on anything that was over a stack, I have an exporter swapped out where we did have an importer. And I was just, doing 9 items at a time, just sticking it in here, stucking it out. Once it was done, I would put 9 more items. So that went pretty smoothly. It took a little bit of time, but it wasn't too bad. I also took that time to also go through our inventory and sort out stuff that I didn't want, like a bunch of broken pieces of armor and just little random odd and ends. Now we can head over to the mega base and I'll show you what it looks like on that end. On this side, you'll see I've temporarily placed our black hole unit for our cobble here next to our terminals. And if we take a peek inside, you'll see where everything is now in our applied Energistics system. And this didn't take up no near as much space as I thought it was going to. But we have an entire drive bay with nothing on it at all. So we have quite a bit of expansion capabilities before we have to look at adding more drives. I did go ahead and spin up both of our excavators. We do have 2 of those running now in new chunks. And we have 2 digital miners running as well. And if we fly up to the top, you'll see where we're at with our workshop. And over here, we're not done, but we are getting a little closer with our design here, which we're just carrying over. And this little area here is really cool. I've got some cool ideas for this room. And what we're going to get into now is moving our production line over for our processors and integrating that into our AE2 system. And we're going to do that in this room right here. And my goal over the next few episodes is to move at least one of our production chains that we have set up that we need and move that over to our mega base. Moving the inventory doesn't count. So for today's episode, we're going to move our processor setup. So let's go ahead and get started on that. room is definitely starting to feel like a command and control center, which is exactly the vibe I'm going for. Over here we have what I like to refer to as an applied Energistics hub. We have our various terminals set up here. We have a spot for a few more or storage monitors down the road. We also have 8 advanced inscribers set up and 2 chargers. I was going to set up a growth chamber, but there's actually another way to process those seeds, so we'll set that up later in today's episode. All of these machines are fully integrated into our applied Energistics system. There's a pattern provider and an import on each one of these. And we can pull off this cable just so I can show you how this is working. Oop, that went back below there. That's fine. We'll get back there and get that in a bit. So the pattern provider is running up the left side of all of these on the right side of our terminals. It's set up to process the 3 different types of processors. So you can see it's set to produce 1 calculation processor when the machine receives the 3 items needed. And that is how all of these are set up. And once those items are it'll send the 3 items here, it'll craft it. And once it hits this output, the importer will pull it back into our applied Energistics system. And these are fully functional and ready to go. The ones that are not are over here because I wanted to show you guys how we're crafting those patterns. But we're going to go ahead and set up the patterns for these advanced inscribers. And we're going to do that with our pattern encoding terminal. And we're just going to look up processor. And the first one we'll do is the printed silicone. So it needs the inscriber silicone press and silicone. We are going to get rid of the press because we're going to leave those in the machine. So when we tell our system we want printed silicone, all it knows is it needs to send just silicone. We need to grab our patterns real quick because they are not loaded up. There they are right there. Now we can take that one. And I believe we have that in the bottom. Yes, we do. And we're just going to put that right there in the pattern. And we'll just go ahead and make the other 3 real quick. If I'm able to spell correctly. Being bad at math is bad enough. It would help if we used the right terminal. Well, this one will be gold. And then starts quartz crystal. And then I believe diamond. Yep. Just check these. Yep. And now we'll stick them in the correct pattern. So this one is logic. So we'll set the logic one in there. One is engineering. And this one is calculation. And we can put those back on there. And now these are fully done. We should be able to test this. We don't have a lot of materials or auto crafting set up, so we'll have to keep this test limited, but we'll should be able to craft some logic processors. So we're going to switch this to craftable. We're going to say give us 10. And that should send, we should see these going. Yep, see now it's making the gold, and those are processing over here. So that's going to take a while because we don't have any upgrades. We'll have to work on getting some acceleration cards. And something I forgot to go over is we did finish this stairwell in that last segment, and it goes all the way up and down now. I know we've been flying through the hole we put in the base, and we'll probably continue to do that. But as I stated in the previous episode, I like to have a visual representation of being able to go up and down the stairs. Now what we're going to work on is setting up some patterns for auto crafting and integrating our mechanism factories that we set up in the last episode. We're actually going to add a few more machines and set up 4x ore processing, or 4 times, whichever term you would prefer to use. So let's get started on that. So this setup may not look like much, but it actually took me quite a while to get all the kinks worked out of this and get it working correctly. All of the cables and tanks and factories are ultimate level. And we'll just kind of step through here and I'll show you what's going on here. But essentially this is our ×4 ore processing setup, minus the enrichment and smeltery, which is on the other side. Starting with this electrolytic separator, you can see we're pulling water out of an inner tank from downstairs, and it's getting separated into oxygen and hydrogen. The oxygen is being pumped into this chemical tank, where it is then being sent over to this purifying factory. The hydrogen is coming up into this chemical infuser, where it's combining with chlorine to make hydrogen chloride, which is getting pumped into this injecting factory. And both the hydrogen chloride and the oxygen is used as a secondary input in order for the machine to run. So it needs power and the secondary output in order to run, and power is getting pumped into the back of all these. And the chlorine we are getting from separating brine, and currently we're just dumping the sodium because we don't have a need for it and we don't want it to stop running. All of these machines except the separator and chemical infuser are max energy, max speed, and 3 mufflers. These are only running half of the speed upgrades because they use a lot of power, and we really don't need any more than what we're generating at the moment. And excuse the jungle of cables behind here, but it is a mess back here, but it is not too bad, and you can walk all the way through here. But you can see where we're using Ultimate Universal Cable to power all the machines, and everything is integrated into our applied Energistics system. And you can see the Purifying Factory, for example, has 2 interfaces where we have 1 pattern of each type of plump, and there's 18 total. And there is an import that's pulling everything back into our system as it gets done crafting it. The Crushing Factory is generating our dirty dust, and there's of course 18 of those. And our Injecting Factory is crafting the shard. And there's the import up at the top, up there. They're getting pulled over here to one of these smelting factories. I'm not sure which one it is. Yeah, this one right here. It's actually going to the Enriching Factory first, where the dirty dust is getting turned into normal dust. And there's of course 18 of those patterns. And then on our smeltering, we have the actual patterns for the ingots themselves. And they're getting imported back into the system. And all of the factories over here are also running max speed, energy, and 3 mufflers. And most of, I need to go through here, I found a couple that didn't, but most of the applied Energistics import and export buses over here have 1 capacity and 3 acceleration. I've found a few that didn't. I think a couple of the infusers down here did not. So yeah, they're missing some acceleration cards. So I'll work on that in between episodes. But these infusers are also set up like our setup we had over at our starter base. So we have one that's processing alloy and the basic circuit. Then we have one that's processing steel, one that's doing your refined obsidian dust and the reinforced alloy, and then we also have atomic alloy, and there's one other thing, the netherite dust. Yep. And I think this one's not being used, so we have a spare one if we need to set something else up. Or we could just go over here, and I'm going to show you all of the additional patterns that we have now at our disposal. I spent quite a bit of time working on patterns. We crafted at least 100. So you can see now we have all of these different patterns to craft various things. So a lot of these are craftable items, which are down in our assemblers down below. But we can craft all 18 different types of ore you can get from the ×4 mekanism ore setup. We have the 64K drives and crafting storage processes set up, going all the way back as far as you need, as well as all of the basic through ultimate cables, tanks, energy cube, all kinds of good stuff, even the tier installer upgrade. And if we take a moment just to look at our quest book real quick, you'll see we have finished off the refined storage quest line by crafting these wireless components that we're not using. Pretty simple to make, things that we already have and been using. And we've also, I did not mean to close that, got our ×4 ore processing and the ×3 ore processing. And the last one that we did was, I think it was under storage. We got one for building the A2 cube, which gave us some really nice goodies as well. And to cap this episode, we're going to set up a wireless access for our AE2 system. And we're going to set that behind here. So we're just going to pop out this glass so we can get back behind here. And I have the components already. So we need the security terminal. We need a wireless crafting terminal and these wireless boosters, which boost the signal and this actual access point. So we're going to pop this block out right here. We're going to put the terminal right here, an access point on top of it like that. It don't have to go like this. This is just the way I'm setting it up. So my OCD plays nice. And we link it to our system by running it through the security terminal like that. And then we can extend the range by adding these wireless boosters. So now to reach out 197 meters, I guess that's what that's supposed to be. Not sure what that is in Minecraft blocks. But if we go check, I think it will reach all the way down to the bottom of our opposite side of our base at the very minimum. So if we're down here, now we can access our inventory by using our terminal. So this is really useful to have. And if we go over here real quick, you can see where we've been adding patterns to all our assemblers. You'll notice some duplicates like the wool and this string. And that's because stuff like that we craft in huge quantities. So I want to be able to spin up more than just one at a time. We've also added 2 more CPUs if we can get to that floor up there. So now we can have 4 processes going at the same time. Or we could just spin something up as a test example. We can, let's craft some ingots. What do we have that we could use some more of? So looks like we have quite a bit of iron. We could use some gold maybe. Yeah, let's do a couple hundred gold. We're gonna look craftable, and then we're just gonna tell it to give us 300 gold. So you can see it'll get assigned to one of the CPUs. So I got assigned to this one. It'll start processing. We can actually go up there and you can see it running through the machines up there. Oh, wrong floor. So you can see where it's creating the clumps into dirty dust, and then the shards into clumps. We missed that first process already. And then the dirty dust into real dust, and then the dust into gold ingots. It does not take long with this setup. I mean, I am loving this setup. But I think for today, that's going to wrap us up. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I had so much fun setting up our control center and workshop, as well as integrating our mekanism machines into our applied Energistics setup. If you guys enjoyed the episode, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions or feedback, please leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe. This is Agro Ninja, and that's a wrap.